morning. Welcome to 49ers in 5, your daily update on everything happening with the team that you need to know. I'm Rob Stats Guerrera. Today is Thursday, October 5th, 2023. Here's what's happening with your San Francisco 49ers. We're going to get to Kyle Shanahan defending Brock Purdy in a minute, but first we have to start with the injury report. First one of what is obviously a massive week for the 49ers. And the list is kind of lengthy, unfortunately. We'll start with those that did not participate in practice. John Feliciano has a concussion. Dre Greenlaw, ankle. Elijah Mitchell, knee. Charvarius Ward has a heel issue. And Christian McCaffrey and Trent Williams didn't practice, but don't worry, those are just veteran rest days. Also, Juwan Jennings and Deebo Samuel once again limited. Jennings has a shin, Deebo has a knee and ribs. So starting to get a little lengthy, but hopefully most of this is just precautionary, as I said, going into a very big week and the Dallas Cowboys. Now, let's get to Kyle Shanahan. He met the media yesterday, and he was asked what he would say to people that think of Brock Purdy as a system quarterback.
Pretty ridiculous. You just got to watch the tape. I mean, he plays at a high level every time he's been out there. And he's done it in a lot of different situations versus a lot of different defenses, on the road, at home, in playoff games, when injured. You can't do all that stuff. He's been out there too long. It's on tape.
Kyle was pretty dismissive there, and as you would expect, the head coach is defending his quarterback. But ultimately, here's the thing. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if he's a system quarterback because he's always going to have the system there. All that matters is what does he do on the field, and right now you can't ask much more of Brock Purdy. Moving on, more from Kyle now. I've talked a lot about how Dan Quinn kind of has Kyle Shanahan's number a little bit. Kyle was asked yesterday about the difficulty in facing Dan Quinn.
It's a huge challenge. I mean, Dan's as good as it gets. His schemes are always tough. He makes adjustments well. But the one thing that's always the same is how his guys play. Those 11 guys play with their hair on fire. They generate a lot of chaos, especially up front. And that's usually what leads to them getting all their turnovers.
Facing someone that you know so well and he knows you so well, it's one of those things like he knows I want to do this or he knows that I know.
A little bit. But it's different when you're not in the division. At least it's not twice a year, unless you mean the playoffs and stuff. But I think Dan and I got to go against each other twice here in Dallas, and it's always a huge challenge.
It's a classic matchup of strength versus strength. Cowboys defense is great. Niners offense has been great. I have no idea who's going to win, but that's kind of what makes Sunday so exciting, right? We get to find out. Finally, the other thing I talked about yesterday was Trey Lance, right? And how much information he could give the Cowboys about the 49ers system. We heard from Brian Schottenheimer, their offensive coordinator. Yesterday, Kyle was asked just how much information Trey could give the Cowboys.
As much as most coaches can. I mean, you can see the plays on tape. You can explain what we look at and stuff like that, which usually you can when you can stack up a lot of tape over years, and we've been here for a while and previous. So, hopefully he's talking to them all the time and making them focus totally on that instead of the simple stuff of watching the tape.
Maybe he was just playing it cool, but Kyle looked utterly unconcerned with that possibility. So, look, as we've pointed out many times, there are too many threads between these two teams for Trey Lance's specific knowledge to have any sort of outcome on the effect of the game. We always give you one thing to read, one thing to watch, and one thing you might have missed. One thing to read on this Thursday, David Lombardi has a nice little breakdown of Brock Purdy in The Athletic, including his performance against the Cowboys last year in the playoffs and what he'll have to do this year to get the win. If you want to read it, just click the link in the description of this episode. One thing to watch. Former 49ers safety Jimmy Ward was a guest on Richard Sherman's podcast. They got into a couple of juicy topics, including the end of Ward's tenure with the 49ers and why he stopped speaking with Kyle Shanahan down the stretch last year, and why Jimmy Ward thinks Jimmy Garoppolo may have chose not to suit up for the NFC Championship game. Very interesting comments. Again, I'll put the link in the description of the episode. One thing you may have missed, a lot of 49er fans were happy. The Cardinals released offensive lineman Il Manning, and he was picked back up onto the 49ers practice squad. If you're wondering, like, hey, that name rings a bell, Manning was one of the 49ers undrafted free agents this year. A lot of people liked him in training camp and during the preseason. Unfortunately, the Niners cut him. Well, guess what? Now he's back. So if you were upset before, you can be happy now. Il Manning on the practice squad once again. That's a wrap on today's 49ers in 5. Please rate, review, and follow the Gold Standard Podcast Network. Enjoy your Thursday, everybody. Levin Black and I will be here with the original Gold Standard Podcast. Not going to be live because I've had to tape it because I'm trying to get everything done before I leave for Santa Clara. So it's not going to be live, but the video of the pod will be up for you later today. Hope you enjoy it. And as always, rate, review, and follow. I'm Rob Stats Guerrera. We'll talk tomorrow.